Welcome to another episode of Mastermind Bites. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Mastermind Bites, I get to feature another amazing individual. And over the last few years, I've had the privilege and the honor to meet some amazing people, some very successful individuals, and some masters of their skill sets. I got to be able to be in their presence, absorb their energy, and just hear their stories and learn some great lessons from them. And just wanted to share back some of those stories and some of those lessons that I've gotten from them and apply it to our personal lives and our businesses. And that's why I have this show. And today, I'm very, very excited and also very, very honored to be able to feature Mr. Kevin Conroy. Now, growing up, as a lot of you already know, I'm a big, big Batman fan. And one constant when I was young was that every single day after school, I've had the adventure of a lifetime because I got to go home and watch Batman, the animated series. And that was absolutely amazing. And growing up, watching that show was one of those things that really cemented how much Batman meant to me and why I loved Batman so much and why I'm still a very big fan of Batman. But one of the biggest reasons why that show was so successful, not only was it because it was one of the very first animated Batman shows, which was done very dark and very adventurous and had this great tone to it, but it was because of the voice casting. Not only did it have the legendary Mark Hamill as the Joker, but it also had Mr. Kevin Conroy as the Batman. And it was because of that voice. And that voice that he did for Batman was one of those voices that became legendary. Everybody recognizes that voice as Batman and later basically cemented that Kevin Conroy is for sure the best voice for Batman for years and years to come. And over 30 years now, he's still doing the voice of Batman because everybody loves that voice and everybody recognizes him as a person for Batman. Now, he's also an actor. Like I said, he's a voice actor, and he does so many other things. Like I said, he does a lot of work for charity, does a lot of awareness stuff. And just because he's so recognizable with his voice, he does a lot of charity work with his voice. And it's absolutely amazing just being able to meet him and hear his stories and learn from him as well. Now, as an actor, he actually didn't plan to become a voice actor and be recognized as the voice of Batman when he was starting off his career. In fact, he was Juilliard trained. He was a trained Broadway actor, and that's what he wanted to do. And I thought that was a big, big, big transition for him, which was kind of interesting because who would have thought somebody of his skill set, somebody of his background would all of a sudden become the voice of the most iconic characters in comics and also in cartoon history, which is absolutely amazing. What he actually did that was different than all the previous Batmans and all the previous people that portrayed Batman was he kind of analyze that character to the point where it really, really made sense. And that's why that voice works so well. He thought that, wow, this person's such a dark character. And it's very difficult for somebody to change their voice and change that raspiness into the Batman voice if that's not truly how you felt. So he was one of those first, if not the first person to basically say that the Bruce Wayne character of Batman is actually the performance. It's actually the mask of who he truly is. And who he truly is Batman. So once Batman puts on that cowl and puts on all his equipment and his costume and his uniform, that is when he's his true self. And when it's his true self, he feels the pain. He feels himself. He feels the loss of his parents. He feels the need to save Gotham. And that's why that voice becomes his ground. That voice becomes his soul. And that's why he recognizes that as Batman is the true self and not Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne is the performance. Hence, why that voice performance by Kevin Conroy was so good and so recognizable. And it's absolutely amazing to be able to hear from him and meet him. And it was a lot of fun. Now, there was a few things that I thought was absolutely fascinating that he shared that I thought was very, very appropriate for us to learn from because it actually helps us personally and also helps us in the business sense as well. The very first thing that I wanted to share is the advice of never wasting away your life. We all only have one life, and we all should take up as much opportunities to make the most out of our lives because we only have that one chance if you look at it from a long standpoint. Now, the thing is, Kevin Conroy learned this from his father, and he shared a very, very touching story about his father and how they didn't get along and how he had to really work hard to recognize that if and when his father passes away, he wouldn't have that second chance to make up and kind of build that relationship again. And he knew that that would haunt him for the rest of his life. So near the end of his father's life, he worked very hard. He went and stayed with him and was there for him and just took care of him and all that kind of stuff. And he rebuilt that relationship to the point where he doesn't have any ghosts now. He doesn't have that whole mindset of not having that sorted out and rebuilding that relationship with him. But at the very last moments, he recognized that his father sat down one day, had that very, very far off look and said, the great Conroy, and just shook his head. And simply by seeing that, Kevin Conroy, seeing his father say that word and say that sentence, kind of really, really spoke to him. It was like the best lesson of his life. And that basically signified that his father felt that, what did I do with my life? Did I waste my life? Who am I? What did I think of myself? Kind of thing. And therefore he had that whole sentence of, wow, the great Conroy, kind of sarcastically. And that basically is something he now puts into his own personal life and go, hey, I'm not going to waste my life. I'm going to make the most out of my life. And I'm always, always going to be able to do more, add more to society, give more back, and just make a difference in the world so that he doesn't have to look back and go, wow, what did I do? Which is basically what he saw his father say to himself. So I thought that was very, very touching that he shared that story. And I thought that was very appropriate for everybody here to actually learn as well, to not just overlook everything in life and make the best out of it. The second thing I wanted to share is being at the right place at the right time and then seizing that moment. Now, what's funny was he never actually intended to go audition for the voice of Batman. He just happened to be in the same area, happened to be in the same place where the auditions were taking place. So he didn't even go in prepared. He didn't know that they were doing a Batman show. He didn't know that the tone of Batman of this animated series was going to be so dark, but he just kind of showed up and so what's going on? And they actually asked him, so what's your background? How much do you know about Batman? And at the time, he actually only thought that, well, the only reference point of Batman was the Adam West Batman, in which Bruce Timm, who was the producer of the show and creator of this show, basically said, oh, no, we're not doing that. We're doing a very dark Batman. We're doing a very, very different type of tone of Batman where it's more grounded, more real. There's lots of great storylines and it's a great cast and it's going to be a very, very realistic kind of take on life and on the personality of Batman and Bruce Wayne. And he just went through the whole concept of the style and also the artwork. And within 5 minutes, Kevin Conroy, who had a Juilliard background, looked at this and went, wow, this is very Shakespearean. Basically, it's like Hamlet. So all of a sudden, he kind of viewed Bruce Wayne in that light and did a Hamlet-like performance. And that's how he got the role of Batman and never looked back. For something that he didn't prepare for, within 5 minutes, he came up with a character, came up with that voice, and became Batman for the next 30 years. In fact, they've actually went through over 500 applications, 500 auditions, and then this guy who came in, who had no preparation whatever, who didn't even intend to audition for this role, seized the moment, got the role, and became that iconic role for 30 years and many, many more to come. So I thought that was actually very interesting. And the thing is, for us, it's one of those things that you can't prepare for everything. You might just happen to come up to a situation where there's this great opportunity that you try out for. So seize those moments, and you never know what those moments will bring to you for your future and also for your future opportunities and also ventures and whatnot. So seize that moment. You never know what kind of opportunities will come. The third thing I thought was kind of interesting was the concept of the more you give, the more you get back. Now, Kevin Conroy comes from theater and has that background of performance and giving it all you've got for the live audience. And in theater and in Broadway, because the audience and the theater is so large, sometimes you have to give it a lot for the people up on the second balcony to actually experience that emotion, to experience those gestures and the actions. So you give it a lot. And the more you give, the more you get back from the audience. You also get more from your other actors and your other cast members as well. Now, Mark Hamill, who played the voice of Joker, also came from a theater background. So both of them had the same mindset of the more you give, the more you get back. The more you appreciate, the more you kind of support each other, the more you get back. And he's always said that Mark Hamill is one of those people that you love watch other people do the performances, because Mark Hamill just sits there in awe. When the performance is amazing, he sits there in awe and just gives support and gives lots of great feedback and just lets that performance sink into him. But at the same time, he would support them and give it all when he's up there doing his performance, when he's up there doing his voice acting. Now, the two of them actually have the same mindset, so they both support each other's at the same time, and they both complement each other at the same time. The reason why Kevin Conroy believes that he has become one of those great iconic voices for Batman is because Mark Hamill was also the iconic voice for Joker, and the both of them actually lifted each other up. As the saying goes in the Batman universe, Batman would not be Batman without Joker, and Joker would not exist without Batman. Batman is the greatest superhero, and also that's why Joker is one of the greatest supervillains of all time, because they actually complement each other. And when you look at it from a real life standpoint, both Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill has absolutely complemented each other in each other's performances, and that's why those two voices has been so good. So that's why for us, when we go up on stage and do a talk, when we go up and teach, when we go up and coach, when we go up and partner up with people, we've got to give it all that we've got, so that the more we give, the more we get back from that audience, the more we get back from our partners, the more we're able to collaborate with each other. So I thought that was very, very important when it comes to business and when it comes to our relationships as well. The fourth thing I wanted to mention was the thing that you never know what kind of impact you have on other people. You never know what little things that you do would have on other people that you may or may not even know. And to kind of showcase this, there's a couple stories that I want to share with you about what Kevin Conroy has experienced within his journey and his career of becoming the voice actor of Batman. The very first story that he shared was that during one of those Comic Cons and one of those meet and greets, there was this one girl that went up to him and goes, "Can I give you a hug?" And he goes, "Okay." And then when they hugged, all of a sudden the girl started crying. And he goes, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry about why are you crying?" And she goes, "You have no idea how big of an impact that you have made on my life." And he goes, "Oh, really? What was it?" And she goes, "Well, the thing is, you literally saved my life. Where I grew up, everybody I know is either missing or has died. And the fact that you played Batman, and I knew that that was a safe place that I can go to every single day after school, and I could rely on listening to your voice, watching your performance. You kept me out of trouble, and you were my guiding light. My parents were always working to try and support the family, so you were that constant that I can always rely on. And I came back every single time to listen to you and watch your show, and that's how you saved my life. Without you, I would not be where I am today." And that just absolutely broke him, because Kevin Conroy would have never imagined that he would have that effect on people that he didn't even know by just simply playing a voice of a character, a made-up character on top of that. So that was one example. Another example was the fact that he likes to volunteer for a lot of different things. He likes to give back. And he was volunteering for this one soup kitchen for the firefighters and also the policemen who were helping out with a disaster or some event. And they were basically there for a relief scenario where the soup kitchen was at. And he was one of those people, he was volunteering, he walked in, and the organizer of that soup kitchen basically kind of goes, don't you do some kind of acting or voice? And he goes, yeah, I'm Batman. Yes, I knew it was you. And because he was a fan, the manager went up to the microphone and goes, hey, guess what, guys? Everything that you're eating here, the soup that you're taking in, and everything that's happening right now, well, that was actually prepared to you by Batman. And out of the blue, somebody else in the background goes, prove it! And with that, Kevin Conroy went up to the microphone and did his legendary, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman. And all of a sudden, a long pause later, you hear this huge cheer, and everybody was happy, everybody was excited, and so much energy was in that room. And that's what he did. Simply by playing that role, simply by giving that voice out, made a whole different environment at that soup kitchen. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. And the manager basically, yeah, before that, everybody's mood was down. Everybody's very stressed because of what's going on. And just you coming out and making that voice has completely changed the whole dynamic of the rest of the day. So thank you very much. So I thought that was very interesting. The impact that that voice has, the impact that Kevin Conroy has, is something that you can't imagine when you were doing that role to begin with. And the third story that I thought was very, very touching was he was again volunteering for a group of veterans where they sat down and shared about their war experience and how the show actually helped them out and all that kind of stuff. Now, when they were sitting down, they were sharing, and then all of a sudden, this one person walked in and just started to break down, started to say, oh, you don't know, you weren't there. And then eventually they all hugged and that person cried. And the organizers of that event took that person aside and they had a talk. And Kevin Conroy then was approached by somebody else, and that person said, you have no idea. We were trying to reach out to that specific person for months, for a very, very long time. He must have known that you were going to be here, and he showed up. So thank you very much for that. You got through to him. This is a big breakthrough for that one individual, and thank you, thank you, thank you. And I thought, wow, that story and those two other stories that I shared, that he shared, was absolutely touching. Something that you thought was just an ordinary thing, just your job, just something that you do for a living, has impacted people so greatly, so much that they break down, that it saved their lives, that it changes the mood of the entire environment. Who can ever imagine that that would happen? So one of the lessons that he actually shared was, one, you never understand and the impact that you have on other people's lives, no matter how small the action you do is. And two, that's why you should refrain from being impatient or being easily frustrated or easily judging people or taking certain aggressive actions to certain situations when you don't really know, because you don't understand and you may not know or cannot foresee what those actions can lead up to when something happens or whatever in the future. So those little tiny moments can have a great impact on other people's lives. So those are the lessons I got from Kevin Conroy, which I thought was absolutely amazing. And I'm so thankful to actually be able to meet him, a childhood dream come true for me. And I had a great time just hearing his voice and just hearing his stories, and all this stuff that he talked about really, really gave me some great insights as to how to approach life, how to become a better person. And wow, absolutely amazing. So to recap those lessons, number one is don't waste your life away. You have one chance, and just make the very most of the life that you're living. Number two, being at the right place at the right time and then seizing those moments. Number three is that the more you give, the more you get back. And number four is, well, you never understand or never know what kind of impact you have, regardless of how small the actions you do are. And then also incorporate into that lesson is also a refrain from taking too quick of a judgment or too quick of an action that is because of frustration or impatience. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I really love doing this episode because it was something that I really, really enjoyed researching on and also hearing and meeting as well. And if you like this episode, please go back to some of our other episodes on the on Mastermind Bites, and also our other shows. We had the Peak Potential Success Show, and also Unlocking the Mind Behind Make More Work Less, and also the weekly Make More Mind Bites. And so please like, subscribe, and follow and comment. I love seeing your comments. And until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. We'll see you later.